Today, we're going to dive into a mystery that has stretched across more than 2,000 years. Why did most of the Jewish people not recognize Jesus as the Messiah? This is not only a question of history, but also a challenge of theology. It has shaped the faith of generations and sparked many debates that continue even today. And maybe, after listening to this message, you will see prophecy, faith, and even the plan of salvation in a whole new light. So, let's start from the beginning. When Jesus came to the land of Israel, he didn't come quietly. Through miracles, words, and actions, he showed the people that he was the one promised in the Old Testament. He healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, opened the ears of the deaf, and even raised the dead. These things were not hidden. They happened openly in front of many people. Since the Jewish people knew the scriptures and the prophecies about the Messiah, they should have been able to recognize the signs in Jesus' life. But the truth is, most of them rejected him. Why? Why did such clear miracles not lead to widespread belief? Today, I want to share 4 main reasons. These reasons are connected to history, religion, and even struggles of the human heart. Let's look at them one by one. The first reason is confusion about prophecy. In the Old Testament, there are many prophecies about the Messiah. Some spoke about his birth. For example, the book of Micah says the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. Others spoke about his suffering, like Isaiah chapter 53. Even the timing of his coming was mentioned in Daniel chapter 9. When Jesus came the first time, he fulfilled these prophecies. But here was the problem. Not all the prophecies were fulfilled in his first coming. The scriptures also describe the Messiah's glorious kingdom, that he would bring peace to the world, rule the nations, and reign with power. Those things did not happen during Jesus' first coming. The Jewish people did not realize that these events would happen in 2 stages. First, the Messiah would come as a suffering servant. Later, he would return as a glorious king. Because they did not understand this gap of time, many thought, if Jesus did not fulfill everything at once, he cannot be the Messiah. That was the first reason they missed him. The second reason is that Jesus seemed to challenge the belief in one God. For the Jewish people, faith in one God was the foundation of everything. Every day they repeated the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. This was central to their faith. From childhood, every Jewish person learned that God is one and that no one else can be God. But then Jesus said things like, I and the Father are one. In John chapter 8, he even said, before Abraham was born, I am. That phrase, I am, was the very name God used when he revealed himself to Moses. To the Jewish leaders, this was blasphemy. They believed Jesus was making himself equal with God, and for them, that was a sin worthy of death. So instead of accepting him, they rejected him. That was the second reason. The third reason is that Jesus challenged the authority of the religious leaders. At that time, the Pharisees and scribes were the ones who interpreted the law. They created many traditions and rules that the people were expected to follow. But Jesus often confronted those traditions. For example, in Matthew chapter 15, when people criticized his disciples for not washing their hands according to tradition, Jesus reminded them that what truly matters is the purity of the heart, not just outward rituals. He healed the sick even on the Sabbath day, which went against the strict rules of the leaders. And when he forgave the sins of a paralyzed man, he claimed an authority that only God was believed to have. Because of these things, the religious leaders saw Jesus as dangerous, a threat to their system and their power. That is why they eventually decided he had to be removed. The fourth reason is the hardness of the human heart. Even when Jesus performed the greatest miracles, such as raising Lazarus from the dead, many still chose not to believe. The Gospel of John tells us that while some people believed after seeing the miracle, others immediately went to the Pharisees. And then the leaders began to plan how they could kill Jesus. Think about that. They saw a man come back to life, but instead of accepting the truth, they chose to reject it and even destroy the one who performed the miracle. That is the hardness of the human heart. Later, the Apostle Paul gave an explanation for this mystery. In the book of Romans, he said that the rejection of Jesus by the Jewish people actually opened the door of salvation for the Gentiles. Because they stumbled, the gospel spread beyond Israel to the nations of the world. This was not a failure of God's plan. It was part of a larger design. Through the unbelief of the Jewish people, salvation was also offered to the rest of the world. But Paul also held on to hope. He believed that one day all Israel would be saved. He encouraged Gentile believers not to look down on the Jewish people, but instead to love them, to pray for them, and to hope for the day when they too would recognize Jesus as the Messiah. So let's summarize. We have looked at four main reasons why the Jewish people did not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. They were confused about the difference between the first and second coming. They believed Jesus went against the teaching that God is one. They saw him as a threat to their religious traditions and authority. And even when faced with miracles, many rejected him because of the hardness of their hearts. These are not just mistakes of history. They are reminders for us today. Are there times when we also miss what God is doing because of our stubbornness or our own ideas? The message of Jesus was never about building a political kingdom. It was about opening the door to a spiritual kingdom. He called people to repent, to enter into a new life, and to be reconciled with God. My friend, this is an invitation that crosses time. The question is, will you open your heart to the one who was rejected, but who truly is the Messiah? If today's message has helped you, please subscribe, click the bell, give this video a like, and share it with your friends. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's continue to search for the truth together, and may the truth set us free.